From dirt roads, sand spurs, and rattlesnakes to the Orange Belt Railway, we rise. From Florida Quarters to Cooper's Quarters, from Goose Pond to Little Egypt, from Peppertown to Methodist Town, from the gas plant area to Jordan Park, from Sugar Hill to Lincoln Court, we rise. From Jackson Street to 22nd Street, we rise. From all-white primaries to African-American elected officials, we rise. From green benches to the sanitation workers' strike, we rise. From the South Mole to Spa Beach, we rise. From Jim Crow to desegregation, we rise. From the interstate in Tropicana Field to the rebirth of 22nd Street, we rise. From the Negro News page to the weekly Challenger newspaper, we rise. We rise. We rise, and still we rise. As stated by Ernest Ponder in his A Panoramic View of Black History in St. Petersburg, quote, "A race is like a man. Until it recognizes its own talents, takes pride in its own history, loves its own memories, and appreciates its own heroes, it can never fulfill itself completely." People worked hard, played hard, loved hard, and lived hard. Our neighborhoods were born of a difficult world based on restrictions because of skin color, but their stories tell of pride, perseverance, and triumph over adversity.
I am Cleveland Johnson Sr. I was the first African American realtor in Pinellas County and sold homes to many of the leaders in the black community from my office on what is now affectionately called the Deuces.
I am Don McRae, retired U.S. Lieutenant Colonel, helicopter pilot, and one of the most formidable and controversial black leaders in St. Pete history. I was St. Petersburg's first African American city manager and the highest ranking African American official in city government at that time. I presided during a period of racial unrest in the city, and I did what I thought was best for the future of the city by firing Police Chief Kurt Kurtzinger amid allegations of racial insensitivity and poor management. For the first time in the history of St. Petersburg, a city official had been fired for implementing discriminatory actions against African Americans. Moreover, this action was carried out by a black man. The following year, voters decided to abolish the city manager form of government.
I am Johnny Ruth Clark, educator and community worker. I was the first African American in St. Petersburg to attain a doctoral degree. I received my PhD in education from the University of Florida and became an Associate Dean of Academic Affairs at St. Petersburg Junior College. The Johnny Ruth Clark Health Center at the historic Mercy Hospital immortalizes my insatiable desire to help people.
I am Ralph Wimbish, physician, civic leader, president of the St. Petersburg NAACP, and founding president of the Ambassadors, a men's service organization. As president of the NAACP, I led efforts to desegregate lunch counters, theaters, hotels, golf courses, the Spa Beach, and downtown swimming spots. I was probably the first African American to integrate a Howard Johnson's lunch counter on US 19. In 1960, I led a boycott and legal action against Webb City to force the store to serve African Americans at the lunch counter. The boycott lasted 9 months. On January 3, 1961, 14 lunch counters in St. Petersburg quietly integrated, ending weeks of sit-ins and picketing.
I am C. Bet Wimbish, attorney and civil rights activist. I was the first African American elected to the St. Petersburg City Council in 1969 and was made vice mayor in 1971. In 1973, I was appointed the Deputy Secretary of Commerce by then Governor Reuben Askew, where I became the second highest ranking woman and the highest ranking African American woman in Florida government. In 1975, I was named Assistant Secretary of Commerce. Before retiring in 2003, I served as local counsel for the Florida Department of Social Services. In my honor, I-375 was recently named the C. Bet Wimbish Highway.
I am David T. Welch, educator, businessman, and elected official. My election to the St. Petersburg City Council in 1981 made me the second African American council member in the city's history, and I served for more than 3 terms. I was also a longtime educator and an administrator at what is now Pinellas Technical College. I served in the Army Airborne Division during the Korean War, one of the many toughening experiences which prepared me for arguing forcefully for unpopular positions during my era on City Council.
Entrepreneurship flourished in segregated communities from the 1920s to the 1960s. By 1940, a local chapter of the Negro Business League had formed in St. Petersburg. Methodist Town documented 68 businesses, and 22nd Street, the Deuces, boasted 110 thriving businesses during this time. There were also businesses in the gas plant area. These businesses reduced the need for African Americans to shop downtown, where many times they were not allowed to try on the shoes or apparel they were purchasing. Some successful black businesses were harassed, attacked, and sometimes put out of business by white competitors. Yet, even so, black businesses continued to grow and thrive.
I am James B. Sanderlin, attorney and judge. I became the first African American county judge in 1972 and the first African American circuit court judge in 1976. In 1985, I was appointed to the 2nd District Court of Appeals by then Governor Bob Graham. I successfully sued Pinellas County School System to desegregate the schools, making integration a reality in Hillsborough and Sarasota counties as well. In 1965, I waged a successful suit for the 12 black police officers who were relegated to serving only the black community, to serve the entire city, and in 1968, I defended the sanitation workers striking for increased wages and better working conditions when they were fired by the city. The James B. Sanderlin Neighborhood Family Center and James B. Sanderlin Preschool, elementary, and middle schools are named in my honor.